welcome to the Sartorial Geek Podcast. I'm Jordan Ellis of Jordan Danae, and I wanted to let you know that this week's episode is a little different. We got to do our first live episode on stage at San Diego Comic-Con, which was so incredible. Thank you so much to everyone who came out. And for those of you who couldn't make it, we are playing it for you today. We got to speak to Tiffany, Mink, and Matt Newman from Whosits and Whatsits, who you may recognize from a previous episode. So if it sounds a little different, that's why. And we hope you enjoy the show. Hi, welcome to the very first live podcast of the Sartorial Geek. I'm Jordan Ellis, I run Jordan Danae, and I'm half of the Sartorial Geek with my co-editor Liz Crowder, who is working her normal muggle job in Pennsylvania right now, so she's not here. But I'm so excited to have Tiffany, Mink, and Matt Newman from Whosits and Whatsits here today.
Yeah. Hi, good morning.
Hello. Is this I don't think mine works.
We only have Tiffany, sorry.
I was saying.
Okay, can you guys tell us what Whosits and Whatsits is for anyone who doesn't know?
Sure. We are a magically inspired apparel line. It's t-shirts, hats, a few jackets, really easy to wear, like normal clothes. We don't do like the couture made-to-order stuff. So if you're familiar with Jordan's work, we do something very similar, but we are all within the kind of Disney umbrella. And we like to say that we create pieces for like super Disney nerds. We do like really niche kind of references. Like this is one of our shirts. It's the moment in Toy Story with when the shark is like, howdy, I'm Woody, howdy, howdy, howdy.
Yeah, it's a 5-second bit that very few people remember, but we like to pull out the stuff that isn't properly franchised or merchandise. Sorry. Yeah.
It's fun. It's like, you know, when you're a super Disney fan, you pick out those things and you know those things, and there's a community built around all of those things. And it's just like any other fandom, like you geek out about those moments. And people that kind of buy our stuff in our customer base, we like to say that when you see somebody wearing a piece and you get the reference, that it's like kind of like a secret handshake.
Yeah, because it's so subtle and such a deep cut that only a real true Disney nerd will probably get that reference. And then, yeah, there's a bonding that happens with that.
Yeah. I think that's so cool too, because I mean, Disney merch has a vibe, and it's usually really sparkly, and it usually skews really young, and it's usually like the main part or like the main character. Like everyone has seen the 6 main princesses, but the movies have other characters that we love too who don't get their time to shine. And that's why I love your brand, because so I'm a huge Robin Hood fan, and there is not Robin Hood merch anywhere. Like you can't find, no one remembers that movie and the little foxes, and then you guys do though. Like it's really cool the way that you do stuff like for fans, not just like surface level.
We try to bring representation to all the movies because we love them all.
Yeah, like we're fans. You know, like I want a Robin Hood shirt, so I can't. There has to be other people that want a Robin Hood shirt. Yeah. So you know, it's really as super Disney fans like ourselves, we're just like, wow, like this shark moment is such a funny moment. Like it cracks me up every time I see it, and it was like, why not? Like if we enjoy that, there's definitely other people that's gonna like it too.
Yeah. It's also nice because, like, if you are the kind of person who doesn't want to wear what everyone else is wearing, it is nice to not have, like, the Tinkerbell bag that everyone, you know what I mean? Like, even if you love Peter Pan, like, maybe you want something with the Lost Boys, or maybe you want something with, like, a line that isn't the line from
we don't have to have the princess's
song.
face on it. We don't have to have Peter Pan's face on it. Like, we can have a Peter Pan shirt that doesn't actually feature Peter Pan on it. We can have a Robin Hood shirt that's not Robin Hood's not on it, but it's still, representing Robin Hood.
Oh, I think too is kind of going back to picking out these different things is like Disney's going so ham with their licensing right now. Like there's no shortage of Disney merch. I mean, like H&M, the Forever 21s, even Target had like a really great
Uniqlo
Disney line that just came out, Uniqlo.
There's a lot of good stuff.
There's so much good stuff coming out now that's kind of chipping away at the main character focus. But it's, if anything, I feel like it's kind of pushed us to really even get more creative and to get more like deep into the Disney lore and whatever story it is that we're trying to concept an idea for. So it's kind of, it's a blessing and a curse that more Disney stuff is becoming available, and a lot of cute stuff.
Yeah, we try to make it
really come into their own and really doing things on trend, which when we started back in like 2011, that didn't exist.
No.
Yeah.
And we try to move away from just, a basic unisex t-shirt. We offer really nice cuts for women and different kinds of shirt styles, tank top styles. It's not just a unisex tee and here's a graphic on it and moving on. It's
Yeah, that's
everything has a
definitely
thought
something
behind
else.
the design or the shirt brings one works with the other, and we kind of plan it out that way.
Because you guys are both wearing your shirts now.
Yeah.
And these aren't just like
this is a nice Henley.
basic white t-shirt with like the same color. And that's nice too, because when you get, it's hard to find nerdy things that are well designed and well made and also are different. So like actually, I mean, like your shirt has buttons. I never see nerdy stuff with like a different kind of color.
Yeah, well, you also, I mean, you can't tell from there, but it's like screen printed and embroidered on a Henley. Like we're really not trying to do, like there's so many other little shops that have started doing kind of like what we're doing, which is great, and it helps builds up the community, and you get all these like amazing selection of things, but we're always trying to stay ahead of the game as far as like coming up with like pocket tees and Henleys and that kind of fun stuff.
It's cool too that it goes with, like, you don't just pick a shirt and then pick a design and then smush them together no matter what. Like, this is a little shark coming out of a pocket. That's perfect. Like, it's meant to go together, and that's super cool.
We definitely try to marry the two. Sometimes it's like, we'll have an idea for a shirt, and it's like, but what does that go on? Or we'll find a really great blank, and it's like, we'll design to whatever that shirt style actually is. So it kind of works both ways, but we definitely always consider whatever design we're working on, like what it's actually going to be applied to.
And we try to keep it very minimal and subtle. Like, it's not a very loud shirt. You can wear it anywhere. Sometimes you can probably wear it to work and get away with it. No one will know you're wearing a Disney shirt.
It looks like you're wearing a shirt that came from it looks like a restaurant at a beach. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like you could have picked it up.
Go for that.
It looks like you could have picked it up on like the boardwalk, and it isn't necessarily like a Disney thing. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like something you could just be wearing anyway, which is cool. Another thing I love about you talked about it a little bit, but your company takes like the childhood like, it's so nostalgic, and so like if you grew up with Disney, I mean, if you're our age or like a generation older than us or a generation younger than us, like if you grew up with it as a child, there isn't always a way that translates well to like your adult life too. You know what I mean? Like, I see really cute Disney stuff for kids and like book bags and stuff, but I am a 30-year-old woman. Like, I don't always want to carry that around. And I think it's really cool that you guys take like the love of something that you had as a kid and like translated it to adult life. That's cool.
I think that's what's really kind of magical about Disney is I feel like it's impossible to outgrow.
Yeah.
But you as a person, your love for Disney will always be there, but you as a person, I'm not going to keep wearing like butterfly clips in my hair because I did in middle school. Like, there's, it can age with you, and you can do that in a really loud, crazy way if you want to buy like the 2018 Disneyland shirts from the park, or you can do it, if your personal taste kind of grows up with you and you want to feel stylish or cute or different or unique in that, then I feel like that's what we really want to do, is to offer pieces that grow up with you and your fandom as you learn to appreciate Disney even more in the adult age. Like, when you're a kid, you're like, wow, these stories, like, I love this movie, I love Ariel, and then as an adult you really appreciate like how beautiful the animation is, how amazingly they can tell a story. Like, nobody can tell a story like Disney can tell a story. And it's things like that you appreciate as you get older. So why not marry that with whatever's in your closet?
Yeah. Do you guys have a movie that you liked as a kid and then watched as an adult and you're like, oh, this is even better than I remember?
Oh man.
Because that's Robin Hood for me. Like, I watched it, and then as an adult I was like, this still holds up so much. Like, I love this movie.
I think for me, 101 Dalmatians, It had like, as a kid, I thought that was a new movie because they re-released it when like, you know, we were kids in the 90s.
I thought it came out in 91.
It was McDonald's toys. It was in the theater, so I thought it was like new as a kid.
Yeah.
And then watched it not too long ago, more recently, and I was like, wow, like this was a moment in Disney animation where they changed the animation style so much. I feel like they really took like a gamble with it, and it's like such beautiful like background work in that movie. And oh my gosh, Pongo, what a babe! Like it was like,
So
oh,
true.
I like have a crush on Pongo now. I'm like,
So true though.
who am I? Yeah, that one I think really, and like Cruella, like oh my god, as a kid you're like, she's a scary lady, and then as an adult you're like, dang, she's really trying to kill a lot of dogs.
Yeah, you're right.
That movie, like, it's like she's like real scary. Like, there's people like that in real life. Yeah, I think that's one for me for sure.
Cool.
I don't think I have one. I unfortunately, I thought of the opposite. I was, we're watching Dumbo the other day, and I didn't realize it was great, but then it just ends. And I was like, I remember that as a kid. I thought it was, you know, a normal movie. But then I'm like, oh, so he flies and then gets back with his mom, and then where's the rest of the story?
build up, a 90-second climax, and then the movie ends. Like that's it. Like you're building up to see Dumbo fly, and he flies for all of 30 seconds.
It's like I want to see more.
I totally forgot about that.
And then, but you're also so depressed the whole movie.
Yeah.
I was like, we shouldn't even be calling Dumbo Dumbo.
Yeah,
they call Dumbo to make fun of him. His name is Jumbo Jr. We should not be calling him
so
Dumbo.
right.
We are now the bullies, everybody. Like, if you haven't thought about it, watch Dumbo in your adult life, and you'll be like, wow, I feel horrible.
Super emotional movie too.
Yeah,
Watching it as an adult, I was like, oh my god, this is dark.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Do you guys have a favorite new one? Like, I mean, are just all of them your favorites, or do you have like a favorite of the recent?
Zootopia, I think, is one of like the greatest movies of all time. That's like one of the best animated movies, I think, from a lot of aspects. I think the character design is really great and special, like how they kind of humanize animals in a way we haven't seen yet. But Judy Hopps, like, oh my god, what an icon. Please be the role model for like every young girl and boy for the rest of time.
Yeah, the movie's amazing.
And then I will always stand Tangled.
Yeah.
I love Rapunzel. That movie's so good.
Yeah.
I can't think of a recent one that I've been crazy about.
Matt's like very into like the Jungle Books, like a lot of those really fun like
I'm
70s,
classic.
the Robin Hoods, not like so classic like the Alice in Wonderlands, the Peter Pans and stuff. But yeah, he really
Those
likes.
are the ones I grew up with.
Yeah, I mean, we all grew up with those.
The new ones, I mean, I can't think of a one that I like. I mean, I keep thinking of Emperor's New Groove. I always try to push that whenever I can.
It's not in the sense that we weren't
But it's the last one
children.
I remember for some reason, and I think that's just like has a movie that has a cult following because it's so underrated.
Yeah.
And I've said that
that's
before.
completely true about that movie. It is very underrated.
Other than that, Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh yeah, Wreck-It Ralph. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That's what I would. I'd go with that one.
So I don't know if you guys know about Disney bounding. It's like relatively new in the grand scheme of things, but it's been around for a while, and it's like becoming huge. Can you explain? Because I feel like Disney bounding is another way that like taking something you loved as a kid, and then one, if you want to full-on cosplay a Disney character, that's like really intense thing to do, but two, you can't even at the parks anymore. Like if you're over 14, right, you cannot, 12, because there's like a conflict of interest and like looking too similar. Like they're already doing that. They don't want everyone doing that.
So you cannot, if you're an adult, unless you're doing a special ticketed event like a Halloween party or something, you cannot go to the park in full costume. It has to do a lot with character integrity for the park, because a 3-year-old doesn't know if you are the real Sleeping Beauty or not, and if Sleeping Beauty is drinking at Cove Bar, which is now Lamplight Lounge, that kid doesn't know any better.
You're confused the children.
So a lot of it is Disney.
That could be traumatic. I get it.
Yeah, like Disney's protecting their own brand and their own storytelling and narrative for the guest experience. It's not like there are some people that are Disney's so mean. Like, I can't believe they don't only wear a costume in the park. It's like, this ain't about you.
Yes, kids.
So Disney bounding is kind of a way to express the idea of a character without wearing a full costume. So if you wanted to Disney bound, say, Ariel, you could wear a purple shirt and green pants, because you're getting the purple from the shells like across, and then the green pants are essentially like the mermaid tail. If you wanted to wear like a red beanie to where you have like Ariel hair, like, because you're also like, don't wear character wigs in the park either. Like it's too costumey, like, and the hair is so definitive, especially like Disney princesses. Kids still do not know the difference. I've seen it happen in the park, and it's like, it's so weird because it confuses parents. They don't know what to do. They're like, do I tell her it's not the real Ariel? Side note.
Yeah,
It's a very weird thing. It puts everybody in a weird position. So when you Disney bound, you're not trying to look like a character. You are trying to emulate and like embody the essence of what a character dresses or even acts like.
While still looking like an adult wearing normal clothes.
Yeah. Basically, one of the best ways I've heard Disney bounding be described is you kind of wear what you think a character would wear going to the mall.
Cool.
Like, Cinderella does not go shopping in her big blue ball gown. She goes shopping in a cute little, maybe like baby blue skater dress and, a choker, and she still throws her hair up in a messy bun. Maybe she wears clear jelly shoes instead of her glass slippers. So that's kind of where Disney bounding has really become a really popular thing in the park and within the Disney community as a whole, because there's so many ways to express all these characters. People love exploring with their own like fashion trends too. Like it's really pushed a lot of people, myself included, to really think about fashion in a different way. And it's so funny because I'm to the point now where I'll be in the mall and I'll see something in a window and I'll be like, wow, that's a really great Disney bound piece for Pocahontas.
Right.
Like I like look at clothing so different now because it's such a cool thing to do, and it's something you do every day. And it kind of like follows the path of what our clothing line is. Like it's another way to show your love for Disney and a particular character.
Keep it subtle.
And keeping it subtle and keeping it for you and for the other, super Disney fans. And people,
it's a fun thing to do with a group as well, because then you can get a whole bunch of people who dressed up as characters, and your group Disney bounding.
Yeah, groups are like a really great thing. People are Disney bounding attractions from the Disney parks now. That's super fun.
Wild. People in the fashion show too, there was an attraction. Like there was a ride was one of the outfits in the fashion show out there. So,
it's amazing.
It's wild.
And there's no right or wrong way to do it either. It's just like fashion in general. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And so it really opens the door. Like you can have 800 people Disney bound the same character and they all can look completely different. It's so like up for interpretation. It's fantastic.
I didn't think about that, but that's so true, because if you're cosplaying, not that you can't put your own spin on it, but you in general are all going for the same look. But if you're bounding, you're totally right. It can be any interpretation. It's almost like, as long as it's like color blocked in the right way, it can be anything else, which is really cool.
What I really love is playing around with different like decades. Like doing a 90s version of a Disney bound is so different than doing like a 50s Disney bound of the same character. Like we did a Robin Hood and Maid Marian gender swap Disney bound where I did Robin Hood and he did Maid Marian.
This was for Dapper Day.
It was for Dapper Day, which is Dapper Day is an event for Disneyland and Walt Disney World, started by a vintage community, and it's basically like wearing chic clothing to the parks. It's not innately a Disney bound event, but the Disney bound community has like really embraced it. So we went kind of like 1930s. And so my 1930s Robin Hood is like a full-length green velvet long-sleeve gown, and I had a matching green velvet turban, which was really popular in the 30s, with a big feather, like a red feather brooch, because brooches were also really popular, like back in then. Like we looked kind of like. And
I wore a lot of purple.
Oh, Hollywood.
A lot of Maid Marian's purple, and I don't own anything purple, so that was a fun Goodwill trip.
Yeah. There was a lot of dye happening.
A lot of dyeing.
For that one. But yeah, it's really cool because you can make it however you make it, and you can go really far with it, or you can go really subtle with it. And it's also cool because there's so many characters have so many different looks too.
Yeah.
Like even Minnie Mouse, Minnie Mouse doesn't have to be the red and white polka dot. Like people forget, Minnie used to wear a blue skirt with white polka dots. Like you can really mix it up in so many different ways.
Is Disney bounding, it's pretty much just Disney? Like, is there other bounding, or is that casual? Like, what's the? Do you guys know the difference?
So there's like the closet cosplay is like the exact same thing as Disney bounding. It's just Disney bounding is obviously Disney specific, but people do Marvel and Star Wars a lot within the community, but I honestly have not seen it really translate into like Harry Potter or into Star Trek. It's like I've not really seen it go into these other fandoms, which I think is like really weird because it's like such a fun thing.
They don't have a shark to go. Well, Harry Potter does, but
but at Harry Potter you can wear your robes and you can actually feel like you're in Hogwarts, which is very different.
Yeah, that's so true.
They don't have
kind
a
of like a costume piece
restriction.
Yeah, I mean you could wear a Harry Potter robe in Disneyland if you want, but people might just be like,
you lost.
Every time I see someone in a Minion shirt at Disneyland, I'm like, are you lost?
That's not the right thing. One of the really cool things, like you were saying about Disney bounding, that I think is awesome, and people do it with other cosplay too, but you can take like either like a mashup or like you were saying, pick a decade. But like for the Robin Hood, you did a couple things. You did gender swap and a decade and a character. Like, it's cool that you can overlap.
That's an advanced day.
Yeah. Maybe not for your first time. Try something like that. But
Tiffany is a pro at this, so I follow suit.
That's cool too, though, because if you have a favorite character, you can do, like you were saying, like 12 different versions of them. You can do every decade. You can do, you know, anything imaginable, really, which is pretty awesome.
Like a friend of mine, Brianna, she's like such a fashion inspo to me, just on a personal level. I have seen her Disney bound Mad Hatter probably 15 times, and every single time it's so different, and every single time she nails it.
That's awesome.
And it's just like because there's really no end to it. Just like how there's an infinite amount of clothing in the world, you have all of the options to choose from.
Do you have tips? Like, so if you Google like Disney bound a character, you can get a ton of inspiration, and then people do like flat lays too and stuff like that. But do you have tips for a good process to like take a character and then sort of, because I have a really hard time in all kinds of fashion. I have a really hard time with this, like taking a look and then actually pulling out the pieces to then know what to buy and wear.
Sure.
Like, do you have any tips for like translating a character into actual clothing?
I mean, starting if there's a character that you know you want to Disney bound, starting with a piece in the right color, I think is really like the starting point.
Cool.
Like the skirt that you're wearing now, I was like, oh wait, is she Snow White Disney bound?
Yeah, it could be.
That's like literally like what
Totally
I look at first. For me personally, and there's very few instances where I feel like I'm trying to, like the character, like I already know. Like Robin Hood, I knew I wanted to do, and just, I knew that I wanted to do a specific decade, so I was Googling like green velvet dress.
Right.
But then sometimes I will see a piece that'll inspire a Disney bound specifically. It's really tricky because for me it comes from both sides, and I feel like most of the time it's the piece that I find. But I think if you know, I would figure out what vibe you want to go with. Like if you want to go with something super casual, if you want to go with, you know, something 80s, and maybe you want to do an 80s Disney bound of, I don't even know, I keep like saying princesses. If you want to do an 80s Disney bound of Alice in Wonderland, then maybe you're like, a windbreaker is fun and super 80s, so maybe you just look for a blue windbreaker to like get started, and then kind of build around those pieces. Or if it's someone, not to go back to Cinderella, but if it's someone like Cinderella and you're like, the essence of Cinderella is blue and then shoes, right? Like a clear shoe, a silver shoe, a shiny shoe, so maybe you start with the shoe and then build from there. And I like thrift stores and Goodwills are your best friend when it comes to Disney bounding.
Your number one source.
Especially in Orange County stores, because Goodwills are divided up by color.
Oh,
and
that's perfect.
Amazing when it comes to Disney bounding, because when you are on the hunt for a specific color, like I hate nothing more than going in Forever 21 and trying to find one piece, because there's no rhyme or reason how that store is laid out. I'm just like so confused. But at Goodwill, like all of your shirts, like this is your section of purple shirts, this is your section of orange pants and bottoms. So that's like, I feel like one of the easiest places to get started, just because.
And affordable.
Yeah.
Because for when we did the gender swap thing, finding purple didn't exist, so you just found a bunch of white stuff, and you don't mind dyeing it because that shirt costs you $3.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you screw it up,
if you screw it up, you're like, I'll get another one.
And for me, because I also do like a lot of fashion stuff on my personal Instagram. So for me, I outfit repeat for sure. But when it comes to Disney bound, I always want to like do something fresh that like I haven't shown the world yet. So Goodwill Disney bound hunting is a really like affordable way to keep your wardrobe kind of fresh. But then there's things that like you can do so many Disney bounds with like a great blue dress. You have Cinderella, Alice, you have Belle, you have Sleeping Beauty wears a blue dress. Any Sadness from Inside Out, like so many characters wear blue that you can find staples that then you can play with your accessories, your shoes, your hairstyle, whatever, to like reuse a lot of pieces.
That's great. Yeah, just picking out like pieces that are colors that are recurring. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talking about the parks, because like Disney bounding is obviously huge at the parks. You guys hang out at the parks a lot. Like you guys are like expert Disney park goers. What is that like? Like what is it like to just like have that be like a second home?
It's like it's truly amazing. I've been to every park in the world, which is awesome. I was at like the grand opening of Shanghai Disneyland. That's super cool. That was a crazy intense day for me. I don't know, like it truly does feel like a second home, like you said. I mean, I am so into the community and I'm so into everything Disney does. It never gets old and it never gets tired, and like I experience something magical at Disneyland like every time I'm there. Like a special character interaction, maybe this character in a parade like noticed you. Like things like that, like I get so hyped whenever Woody like waves at me. I'm just like, Woody. But yeah, like it's such a fun place to just be unapologetically a super Disney fan. And it's not weird, and everybody else is like also a Disney fan, and you can make the day what you want. You know, you can go really hard, and it's like today I'm going to do like 16 rides, or you can be like, I really just want to eat like a Mickey ice cream bar and like people watch at the castle, and then you'll most likely see someone getting proposed to.
Right, totally.
So like there's so many things to explore. Like I still find new things in Disneyland, which like is shocking to me sometimes, but then I'm just like, wow, like the sounds like on Main Street, sometimes you just kind of forget about it. And if there's too many people in one area, you can't hear this like voodoo lady on a balcony in New Orleans Square, and you're like, oh, like what is that? Like there's a time and a place, and every little nuance of Disney comes out at different times, so it's impossible to have like the same experience twice, which is amazing.
Do you go as often, Matt, or is it?
Not as often as her, no. I've been to a majority of the Disneyland properties, but I go as just a casual goer. Cool. I mean, Tiff thinks it's a second home, and I just go to have fun. Like she said, I go as a casual, so I go for a drink or I go for a meal, ride a couple rides, and go home. I'm real mellow when it comes to Disney.
I have never lived close enough to a park to have like a pass. That's such a different world to me to just like go to Disney for a drink and leave. That's like it's something I never thought about doing ever. But that's really cool if you live close enough that you can. I mean, you can just go whenever you want.
There's a lot of people that are like, oh, like I wish I was that lucky, or people are like, wow, like you must have so much money to go to Disneyland so often. And it's like honestly like an annual pass. Like you can have an annual pass with monthly payments as low as like $30. It's awesome.
But we are lucky.
I feel super fortunate to be so close to be able to go, and that like.
I always tell her there's always there's people who save up their whole lives to go, and like I don't forget that. Like we go and we're kind of spoiled in that way. We go pretty often, but there's people who have to save up, and they only get to go once in their whole life, but they've never been in their whole life, and that's very important.
That's my favorite thing in the world is to take a new person to Disneyland. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's
being a tour guide.
Nothing like that. Like,
it's cool too, because even if it's your 500th time there, you get that vibe from people. Like you can tell when it's someone's first time and their eyes are this big and they're like living their best life for the day. So you can like experience that secondhand, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But another thing that I love about you having like the experience, and because if you go, I mean, anything you do for the first time, it's always helpful to have someone give you tips ahead of time, because like you can miss really cool stuff, or you can just do like the main things and then that's not always like as cool as the insider stuff, and you share all of that on your YouTube channel too. So like if someone is going for the first time, you kind of walk people through like...
It's easy to be overwhelmed. There's a lot to do there, and crowds can overwhelm you, and if you have someone like a guide, and Tiffany does a bunch of YouTube videos on this, they can help you make the most of your vacation. And
yeah, I think that's so cool.
I feel like especially the dining options and like snacks and things that are like you can't get anywhere else in the world. Like people go to Disneyland and they're like rides, and it's like there's so much more to the parks.
Just ride the rides
than
all the time.
It's like it's not like a Six Flags, right? Like Six Flags, you have all these like crazy extreme, like everything's an e-ticket attraction. But at Disneyland, like everything isn't like that. Like I've seen people ride like Alice in Wonderland, and they're like, that's okay, and I'm like. I'm like mortified, but there's so many more things to do. Like some of the like, you could not be a parade person, and a Disneyland parade will change your mind.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many different shows that have like limited viewings, or like right now it's Pixar Fest. And if you're new to the park, you don't know that like so many things are limited, and that will literally be the only time that you can experience certain things. So it's really important, even like for me, whenever I go to like one of the national parks, even if it's not my first time, like I try to do my research to be like, what's going to be closed when I'm there, for one, like what, not to get my hopes up on something.
Right. No, that's a really important thing. Make sure everything's open that you want to see.
And then, seeing like what food items are new. Is there a special like character that's only meeting for a few months? Like there's all kinds of things that's really easy to miss out on. Just by not knowing. But if you're also going to experience the essence of Disney, it's not like your experience is going to be bad. It's just, depending on what kind of park experience you want, maybe you really, really love Flick and Princess Ada from Bug's Life. Well, they're not going to be meeting past September 3rd. So it's one of those that's like, take advantage of, these limited time magic offerings while you can.
So what is your YouTube channel, just so people know if they want to find?
Just my name. It's just Tiffany Mink. I was on a collab channel called Thingamavlogs for a while, and we were a group of friends, and we had a video. It started as a video every day, and that was crazy. So we were like a video every week. But there's still a lot of good like food videos and stuff on there. Like our food videos are like always crazy. But yeah, if you can literally YouTube like Tiffany Mink Disneyland or Tiffany Mink Disney, and like you'll see like all kinds of stuff from all different parts of parks around the world.
Cool. Is it mostly Disneyland because that's what you're close to? Or?
Mostly, yeah. Whenever it's sometimes.
But you're special in that you've been to all the ones around the world, so you have videos from all around the world, and it's I think helped a lot of people. Because I've seen fans come up to her, and going to Tokyo Disney sounds kind of daunting. It's a foreign country.
Yeah.
You don't have to speak English, and people are really worried to go there. But I think watching Tiffany's videos, you get a sense of like how easy it is, and like how everyone's amazing there, and like this is how you can do it, and this is how you can do it. And they say like, thank you for your videos. Like you made me feel comfortable.
That's
with
awesome.
Going up there.
It's like my favorite thing like in the world to hear. Is like when people are like, I never thought that I could go to Tokyo Disneyland, but your videos like inspired me, and I'm going next month.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you're gonna like make literally lifetime memories, and like something that I did for fun like helped you do that. And it kind of even ties in like with Whosits and Whatsits.
Yeah.
Like there are people that choose to purchase something from our store to go to a Disney park for the first time in. And like I sometimes get overwhelmed thinking about that, because I'm like, you're gonna remember that day forever. Like especially if you're going to Disneyland for the first time and you're like 22. Like you're not 4, you're not forgetting all that. Like you're gonna remember everything about that day, and you're gonna take so many photos, and you like want to wear something that we made for all those pictures. Like it's unreal to
Isn't
me.
that so crazy?
It's unreal.
Do you get like messages that are like, "Hi, I'm buying this to go to Disney for the first
all the time? Well,
oh my
because
God.
most of the time it's people are like, hey, I really want to wear this to my first time to Disneyland Paris. Is it going to get to me in time because my flight is this day?
Yeah.
So like we kind of get it like from that, which is like literally the most amazing thing. Like it's nothing that I ever thought that we would ever be kind of a little part of that experience for them, but like how amazing that we are.
Do you get tagged in photos a lot too?
Yeah.
Like that's my favorite.
Yeah, we look
that's
at
my
all of
favorite
them. We
thing.
see them all, and we get some big moments in people's lives in Disneyland, like whether they're being proposed to or baby announcements.
Yeah, the baby announcement. We had, so we have a shirt, it's called like the Dreams Come True shirt, and it's got a little pendant flag. This is 1955 for the year that Disneyland opened. And the back says Dreams Come True, and it looks like the same yellow stitching that's on the back of like a classic Mickey Mouse hat. And this couple, they took this shirt with their baby announcement, like their first sonogram, and it was like that was their dream come true, was like having their first baby, and like our shirt was like part of that. Like
so cool.
that's crazy to me.
love
Like it makes me like very emo. Like I cry a lot because I'm such a
I was
Disney
gonna say,
fan.
I'm
And I'm
about to cry right now. It's so lovely.
Yeah, and it's just, it's not like we, just like any job, we have like really great days and we have like really frustrating days. And then it's things like that that really keep it all grounded. And we're like, wow, like, some people are like, you just make t-shirts. But for us, it's like, no, like we kind of become part of a much bigger thing for these people.
Yeah, no, you're right, because Disney trips can be like a huge, I mean, like you're saying, you can dream about it for your entire
Yeah, it
life,
could be
you
a
can
once in a
save for it
lifetime
for years.
trip.
Yeah, so to be any kind of part of that is so cool.
Yeah.
We can do a Q&A if we want. I mean,
If there isn't, we won't be offended.
yeah, like I can just keep asking them questions, but if anyone has questions, I'm pretty sure this mic is on, or you could just, we'll be able to hear you. You can just stand up if we want. If there are questions, if you have questions for me or Tiff or Matt.
If you don't have questions, it's very fine.
If you don't have questions, we're not just going to sit here and awkwardly.
talking about
Go for it, please. Hi.
Hey guys,
Oh, it works.
do you have like a white whale for like Disney bounding by any chance? Is there just like something that's like kind of unattainable, really want to get to?
Oh my
you.
Lord.
Something you've always wanted to do.
I have so many crazy Disney bounds that like I want to do. Like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think.
You can list more than one if you have.
List all the ones
start
on your
going.
list.
I really want to figure out, I really want to do a Snow White that's not an obvious Snow White. Because Snow White for me, like Snow White's one of the best characters to Disney bound because you're dealing with 3 really easy colors to find. You're dealing with yellow, blue, and red. Like it does not get more simple than that. But it also makes it the most obvious Disney bound. So my like personal goal in life is to make a Snow White Disney bound that people like don't know that it's a Snow White Disney bound like straight off. And like that to me is like one of the biggest challenges like
How
ever.
subtle can you go?
Like how can I push this to be Snow White without screaming Snow White? I also really want to Disney bound the doorknob from Alice in Wonderland somehow, and have that actually come across as the doorknob from Alice in Wonderland.
I love that.
I truly don't know. I truly don't know. Like I can wear like a gold sequin dress, I guess, but then like are there keys? Is it? I don't know. Like that's kind of a weird one. But
That's awesome.
I've been thinking about a not obvious Snow White for a really long time. Like I'm constantly like looking for pieces, and that's just like a personal goal of mine.
Do you have any, Matt?
Oh, no. I'm not a hardcore Disney bounder. I am.
Matt is my partner. If I need a prop for
Yeah, I'm a
Disney
prop,
bound, if I need like
What
Yeah.
if, okay, is there a group cosplay you would actually be excited to be, like, since you're not super into Disney bounding, is there one that you could hear and be like, okay, cool, yeah, that would be a really fun group to do?
I will say, not Disney bounding, but
Yeah.
costumes. Matt has pulled it out 2 separate occasions for the Halloween parties at Walt Disney World. We did a Hocus Pocus group where I was Danny,
Nice.
and Matt and our friend Abe were Jay and
Or the
Ice.
bullies, yeah.
Like
Hocus Pocus.
our friend Abe literally let me shave
Ice into his
in
back
the
of his
back.
head.
But like Matt did a Jay and like wore a wig, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so proud. So it was a next year, I was like, how do we top this? And we did the Walrus and the Carpenter and a little oyster from Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
So yeah, he was a really great carpenter, and I was like a cute little like oyster. I had like a big, big visor shell hat thing. And,
That's awesome.
yeah, like he really turned it out and like went gun ho for it. Those are my favorite things we've done.
I like Halloween, but other than that, I don't Disney Bound on any other day. Dapper Day I've enjoyed since I heard about it, just because I like the idea. Because Dapper Day started off with like look or dress as if Disneyland, it was its first day opening, how did they dress? And I thought that was just an interesting concept, because I'm very into the Disney history. I like all the history that's in about Disneyland. I think that interests me. But a Disney Bound that I would ever do.
You said something the other day that you were like, this would be such a good thing. It was like for me and you and Katie, but I don't remember.
That was Deadpool. That's not Disney.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, that's cool. You can.
It's Marvel.
We have a very ugly cat that his name is Wade. Wade Wilson.
He's semi-hairless.
Because he's hairless. He's an ugly cat. So
Awesome.
he looked like Deadpool. He looked like.
So we were talking about like Colossus, Negasonic, and him.
But that was more of a Halloween costume.
Yeah, you're right.
Disney Bound now.
Oh, I do want a Disney Bound, like a 1920s Edna mode.
Yo.
Also, that's like really kind of like on my list at this point too.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Any other questions, you guys? If you don't want to come to the mic, you can just yell it also.
That's cool.
Don't worry about it. Does anybody like actually Disney Bound in this room? Can you raise your hand? Yes. I love it. Thank you for being part of this amazing community. It's so much fun. It's so fun.
Okay, I'll ask you a question. What is, like you say, you see people get proposed to a lot and all that stuff. Do you have a standout, like crazy thing you saw at a park that you, like a wild memory?
You see anything crazy at a park besides a proposal?
I'm trying to. I mean, it sounds really awful, but when you go like once a week and you see so many proposals, you're like, there's another one. So that's really terrible.
Were there any that stood out that were like impressively interesting?
No, I did. That sounds awful too. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm very jaded in some aspects. I did see an actual wedding take place during a park day.
Cool.
That was pretty fun. It was just a couple. They didn't have anybody else. And they drove down Main Street in one of the little cars, and they were getting married over to the left side of the castle where New Fantasy Fair is. And it was all like blocked off, and they had like their little minister. There was one woman playing harp, and they had their cake, and Mickey and Minnie still came out, and it was like just the four of them. And that was like a pretty fun thing to just kind of like see happening at like 2 p.m. on a Thursday.
That's pretty
yeah, that
cool.
was like the fact that Mickey and Minnie still came out when it was such a small event during park time.
Yeah.
Was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty
like-
awesome. That's a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, but then I'm also like, I'm just watching these people's wedding. there they are.
Crashing the wedding.
Oh, they kissed. Like, yeah.
If there was one park you'd go to outside of the United States, which one would you recommend?
Disney.
Disney.
Okay, well, this is a loaded question.
outside of Disney.
Just because, depending on like, you could do a park in so many different ways. Like a lot of people are like, oh, it's so expensive, but like if you can find a great deal on a flight, like the best park in the world is the Tokyo Disneyland Resort. Disney Sea is fantastic. And I think for an international park, it's like it is, well, even just for a Disney park, it is unrivaled in every way. It is the cleanest park in the world. They have the coolest food options. They have so many like unique, specific attractions, and the people like as a whole. Tokyo offers the greatest Disney experience because the crowds like are part of that amazing experience. Everybody stays seated for fireworks. This does not exist in Tokyo Disneyland. No one ever raises a camera higher than their face. Everyone takes off their hats and their ears before a show.
Very respectful.
And everybody follows the rules. Like everybody respects one another so much, and everybody wants everybody else to have the best time. We're like, I see it the most in Walt Disney World specifically, where you're getting like rammed by strollers and people are like, this is my child's first time. Like
It's all
none
about
of
me.
that. Yeah, none of that exists in Tokyo. Like I think it's the best, but I also feel like it should be saved for your last one if you do want to do all of them in the world. Just because once you do Tokyo, like that's the creme de la creme. I feel like of the Disney park experience. Hong Kong is great, but it's very, very small. It's one park that's even smaller than our Disneyland. But Disneyland Paris, I feel like, is pretty easy too. Disneyland Paris it's 2 parks. They're not like super big. You could do both parks and do everything you want to do pretty comfortably within like 2 or 3 days. Whereas Tokyo, you would really want to, like, the last time I went to Tokyo, I did 6 days only for the 2 parks.
That's excessive.
But
First time we did it in 3 days.
there's so many shows in Tokyo, and they have this crazy thing that doesn't exist at any other Disney park in the world, where there's a lottery system. So unless you get a lottery, like win the lottery for that show, you don't get to see it. So there's like so many opportunities, like give yourself more opportunities to like win those lotteries. And there's so much to do, and especially if you're a super Disney fan and you want to look at every nook and cranny, and you want to get every Mickey soap dispenser thing that you can, and then like I wanted to eat like at every restaurant I wanted to eat at, and when you have like a short amount of time in a park that's so vast, you kind of have to like pick and choose, and it's like not somewhere that you can go super frequently. So if you have enough time to really spend, I will always say Tokyo Disneyland Resort.
Sweet.
I agree.
Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out today. Will you tell everyone where they can find you on the internet and places?
Whosits.com.
Cool.
Yeah, we're Whosits Whatsits across all platforms.
Yeah, all platforms.
It's spelled Who Sits. They're S's and not Z's.
Yes.
Who Sits What Sits. And then my personal Instagram is just Mink. If you want to follow me on there, I do all kinds of fun fashion park stuff. And
Yeah, you're a very fun account to follow. Like, it's also, every photo she takes is beautiful, so even if you somehow don't care about any of this, it's just like great to look at. And we're at Sartorial Geek everywhere. Like I said, we have magazines at the end of aisle 4500 right across from the WB. There's just a stack. You can go pick them up. They're free. You can listen to other episodes of our podcast if you enjoy this conversation. And thank you guys seriously so much for coming. This is very, very cool.